Hey, bestie boo. Okay, I was feeling jazzed up. So today we're going to be doing a receiving workshop. I'm so excited. All right, so before we get started, just settle in, create the space around yourself, allow yourself to fully land into the space, get yourself a drink if you need. And we are going to get started. But you don't. Oops. Ah, all right. Just taking a moment to settle in here. I want to give everyone enough time to get settled in. This is going to be a relatively short practice that I'm going to save so that you can come back to at any time. This is a workshop that I've been wanting to do for a while, so I'm excited to be transmitting it here with you today. Okay. So this is going to be a deeply reflective practice today. This is going to require you to be radically honest with yourself. If you're not ready for that, I highly recommend you pause this. You go into managing the mind. You start in the initial few modules because it will walk you through the importance of being radically honest with yourself. With that being said, disclaimer out of the way. Okay, we are going to take a moment to tap into your field, whether you do this somatically, whether you do this logically, whether you do this energetically. I really just want you to take a moment here to invite in your senses, invite in your sight, invite in smell, invite in appreciation, invite in whatever it is that you are currently feeling, wherever you are right now. I want you to be with that. I want you to allow that to exist there. You may do this by tapping into your aura and allowing yourself to pull in your aura and receive. Or you may do this simply by sensing and noticing. It's going to be a unique process for each person who does this practice because you each have your own unique way of connecting with yourself. So I want you to do that. I want you to begin to notice. For me, I am usually able to see things energetically. So I don't necessarily need to feel into things. I'm more of like, I see things like, actually, this has to do with my human design also because I have an outer vision. So it's going to be unique to you. Maybe look into your human design to see what your sight is, so you can better understand how to connect with your sensing powers. Sensing and being radically honest. Okay, 2 housekeeping things out of the way. As we settle in and soften into this space, I would love for you to connect with where you currently are. We're not connecting to the earth. We're not connecting to anything outside. We're connecting to you, to your heart, to where you currently are in this physical 3D plane of existence, energetically, physically, emotionally. Where are you at? And no matter what comes up, I want you to just soften into that feeling. Just allow that feeling to be there. Allow whatever comes up for you to come up for you, to exist. Okay. And in that space of breathing, of just being with the breath, noticing the ebb and the flow, I want you to notice what happens when you inhale. What are you receiving? What's the energy? What thoughts come with that inhale? Maybe you're receiving nothing as you inhale. What are you currently receiving in your life? What circumstances? What kind of conversations are happening around you? What's the energetic imprint that your reality is imprinting on you, on your soul, on your identity? What are you currently receiving? This could be money, this could be friendships, this could be energetic, this could be interference. When I'm saying, what are you currently receiving? I'm asking you, what is at the forefront of your reality? What keeps coming up for you? What ideologies? What habits? What feelings? And the second part of this exploration is asking, what do you feel about that? So if you're experiencing a lot of grief, are you judging yourself for feeling a lot of grief, or are you allowing yourself to feel the grief? Are you trusting that it's part of the process? What's your orientation to what you're currently receiving? Do you feel bad about it? Do you feel good about it? Do you feel like you should be receiving it or you shouldn't be receiving it? Do you feel like it's aligned or not aligned? Do you feel like it matches the trajectory, the vision that you have for your life, or it doesn't? And then what about those feelings specifically feed your current identity? So if you are feeling guilty and you feel bad that you're feeling guilty, you're inherently saying you don't have the power. And so that's feeding your victim consciousness. And that is the current identity that you're playing in. So, what's your current identity, and how do the feelings that you're feeling about what keeps coming up for you reinforce that current identity? In what ways are you attempting to protect yourself? What are you trying to hold away from you? So, if you are feeling guilt and you feel like bad because you're feeling guilt, you feel like you shouldn't be feeling the guilt, maybe you're trying to hold the guilt away from you. out of a sense of protection. But in what ways is that protection feeding the identity of what you don't want? So in the example of guilt, it's feeding the victim identity. By attempting to protect yourself, you're saying, I don't have power, I need to protect myself. And this reinforces the victim identity. This also blocks you from receiving what it is that you truly want, because you're stuck in this feedback, this energetic feedback loop of what you don't want. And so in order to actually shift that, we have to stop making the things that we don't want such a big fucking deal. You gotta ignore them. In the same way that you would ignore someone if they were annoying or if you didn't want to talk to them, that's exactly what you gotta do with what you're currently receiving. And not because you're bypassing your feelings, but because you care so much about how you feel that you're willing to ignore what doesn't feel good for just a moment to focus on what would feel better, to focus on anchoring in the identity that makes you feel strong and not like a victim. And a part of this, a component of this, is you making your current circumstances or feelings mean something about your identity. So, how are you making your current circumstances or feelings mean something about you? If, for example, you're feeling a lot of guilt, you're making the feeling of guilt mean that you are a bad person. That is locking you in the victim consciousness. What if instead you see the guilt, you see it as a natural process of life, you don't make yourself right or wrong for feeling or seeing it or for it being in your reality, and you simply allow it to be there without making it mean anything about you? I will say that whole making it not mean anything about you is so much easier once you've already worked through the mother wound, the father wound, the masculine wound, the feminine wound. Okay. So if you haven't done that yet, this might not be that easy, but if you have done that yet, that will greatly aid you in the process of being a little bit more objective about what you receive. What you receive doesn't mean anything about you. You are the one that makes it mean something based on how you choose to receive it. It doesn't mean anything until you're in that moment of receiving and you make meaning out of it. You might make meaning out of it later too. So you might be in that moment of receiving and not make meaning out of it until later. The moment that you make meaning out of it is the moment that you're attaching it, that you're linking it to you, which links you to a certain identity. For more identity work, go check out the Money and Identity Workshop. It's free. How are you identifying with the thing that's coming up in your reality? Let me give you an example. If I am making $100,000 a month and 1 month I receive someone wants a refund, right? And so my income dips from $100,000 a month to $75,000 a month. And instead of seeing that as a natural part of life, something that naturally happens, I make meaning out of that. And I say, oh, that means I'm not being a good coach. She wants a refund. I am obviously not a good coach. I should just quit. That is you identifying with it. You are identifying with it. You're making it mean something about you. You're making it mean that you're a bad coach, when actually it could just be a natural process of life. It could be the recession before the expansion, right? You're the one who makes the meaning, and the meaning that you make is the reality that plays out. This is all based on how you're choosing to receive the outside world, which is based on your identity. Your identity is the frequency that becomes your perception that then filters the way that you receive the external. So we can go about shifting our identity, right? That works. That's the money and identity shifting workshop. Go ahead, go there, do that. But in order to understand the mechanisms of reality creation, sometimes we need these experiences of understanding how we created something that we didn't want in order to create the things that we do want. So when you can see that the way that you're receiving something is based on how you're identifying with it, in that moment, you can choose to shift your identity. And this is when the real quantum leaps happen, because it becomes less about the circumstance and more about your internal orientation to the outside world, to what it is you're receiving. It has nothing to do with what you're receiving. It's about how you're choosing to identify with it. If you choose to say that you are an abundant queen and you get everything that you want, and that becomes your identity, that will be shown to you. And also, there will be moments where things that are opposite of that will be shown to you. And you have to persist. You have to continue in the knowing that you are abundant and everything works out for you. And so when you see that thing that looks like it's not working out, you're like, oh, I know that'll work out, because that is your identity. Do you see how these two play together in what you are receiving, in the vortex that you're creating in your reality? If you are struggling with the way that you're identifying with something, so for example, you haven't made money in 6 months, and so you feel like a failure, you feel like you're wasted space, you feel like a menace to society. What we want to do in that circumstance is create some space between you and that feeling or those circumstances. So how can you begin to do that? We do that by going general. And so instead of saying, I haven't made money in 6 months and that makes me a terrible person, we can say something a little bit more general that eases off. And this is what Abraham Hicks focus wheel is so good for. And that's inside the membership somewhere. I can also drop it inside of our group chat. We want to find something that feels a little bit better. So instead of, I haven't made money in 6 months, I'm such a failure, I'm a menace to society, we could say something like, there are plenty of people in this reality who are in the same circumstance as me. Just because I didn't make money in the last 6 months doesn't mean I can't make money for the next 6 months. Now, if that doesn't feel good for you, you want to ease off a little bit and go something that feels a little bit like you're working up the ladder. But for me, like, I can easily orient to that. And from there, you want to just keep creating that space, that general space of like, oh, this really isn't even about me. Like, oh, this can change in any moment. And it's creating that space, which gives you a little bit of relief in the way that you are choosing to orient towards your reality. And this allows you to shift your frequency of receiving. Receiving is based on what you are choosing to have. What you're choosing to have, and you are always choosing, is based on your identity. Your identity says, I have this thing because I am blank. I don't have any money. I haven't made any money in the last 6 months because I'm poor, because I'm whatever. And so actually, that belief that you're a menace to society or whatever is coming up for you existed before the experience that you're having. So if you actually want to shift your experience, you have to go in to the underlying beliefs and create space. Go a little bit more general and allow yourself to create that space between you and that feeling or that circumstance And that is going to allow you to shift your identity, because in shifting your beliefs, you shift your identity. In shifting your identity, you shift your beliefs. Wherever is the easier inception point, that's where I want you to go. Okay? That's what I want you to do. It's going to be different for everyone. All right. So that's the breakdown of like actually seeing your reality clearly, being radically honest with yourself, and choosing to take accountability. Let me just recap. What are you currently receiving? What do you feel about that? What about those feelings feed your current identity? How are you making your current circumstances or feelings mean something about you? What does it mean about you? What identity are you living in, right? How are you identifying with your circumstances or your feelings? And how can you create some space by going general between you and that thing, that feeling, that circumstance? And in what ways are you still attempting to protect yourself? Because that inherently means that you are the victim and not the creator. So you're still being the victim. You can't be the creator at the same time. If you are attempting to protect yourself in any way, you do not believe that you are inherently safe, that the world around you is inherently safe, and this severely blocks your capacity to receive, not because you are not worthy, not because you are not already abundant, but because your belief systems and your value systems will not be able to hold the abundance that you're calling in. Okay. The belief systems, the value systems, they live in your body. They're like your anchor. If they can't hold it, if your nervous system can't hold it, you will not be able to receive anything other than what you are currently receiving. Also, because when you're trying to protect yourself from something, you're inherently giving energy to that thing. And so it keeps it alive in your reality. It keeps the momentum going. All right. So now for the more practical aspect of this workshop. I want you to sit down, get a piece of paper, get a pen. And I want you to write a 10 times goal. Set a 10 times goal. What is a 10 times goal? This is an impossible goal, something that you feel like is so out of your wheelhouse. So if you haven't made money in the last 6 months, right? Maybe your 10 times goal is to make 100K in the next 6 months. That seems impossible, right? It seems impossible. But it's not. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to actually orient to that 10 times goal. The key, though, is to make it an impossible goal and to know that you don't actually have to reach it. The world will not end if you don't reach it. Okay, so set the impossible goal. I know that seems scary, but in doing that, you open yourself up to the world of possibility. And now we're going to go through a little bit of a somatic practice, a visualization in the body practice, where we're taking this 10 times goal. Let me give you another minute to write down a goal. And this goal could be related to your career, could be completely unrelated. Like maybe you want to go on a 2-month sabbatical or a 2-month vacation or something, right? Whatever your impossible goal is, I want you to write it down. We are stepping into the realm of possibility together, okay? Oh, God. All right. Ooh. I need to plug you in. Okay. And I have all of this written down, so I'll add a brief written down aspect of this inside of our group chat so that you have this all written down too if you don't want to come back to the video format. All right, so we're going to take this goal and I want you to just soften your eyes wherever you are. Just come into a state of being. No doing, just simply being. Allowing the breath to move through you. You're not moving it. It is moving you. Allowing yourself to be the objective observer for a moment. And now I want you to imagine this goal. This goal is in your auric field. You've brought it to the forefront. It might be a little farther away, might be a little closer. It will depend on your relationship to possibility. It doesn't really matter where it's at. But through the awareness of your body, through being the objective observer, I want you to just take a moment and allow yourself to see this 10 times impossible goal. And just noticing where it's at in relation to you. What version of you is it most connected to? And how is it connected to that version of you? Is it connected through lack? Is it connected through having? Is it connected through limitation? Is it connected through possibility? How does it feel to give your focus to this goal? Knowing that you do not have to complete it, but knowing that it is a potential in the universe. It has the essence of possibility in it. It's an option. It's a potential. It's a pathway. You don't have to take it, but it's there. And now I want you to bring this impossible goal into your heart. Allow yourself to breathe it in as if you were breathing in the essence of a flower. Allow yourself to fully receive it. Maybe you do this by allowing your aura to recede into your heart, or maybe you do this by simply reaching out and grabbing and pulling that impossible goal closer to you, orienting it to this version of you. And as you do this, I want you to notice what it feels like to align your identity, this current version of you, with that impossible goal. So instead of thinking of what currently is and the limitations of this now moment, I want you to orient instead to the goal. Focus on only the goal. And notice how that feels in the body. What does it feel like to align with the desire rather than with what already is, rather than your current moment circumstances? Do you feel a sense of empowerment? Do you feel scared, excited, anxious? And whatever you're feeling, without trying to get rid of it, I want you to allow that feeling to come closer. Maybe you're having tea with it. Maybe you give it a hug. Maybe you have a conversation with it. Instead of trying to get rid of it, I invite you to allow yourself to see it, to fully see it, to fully receive it. You don't need to protect yourself from it. You get to receive that emotion and the wisdom that it holds for you. That emotion is actually the portal to your impossible goal. And that's why it came up in the first place. So let it speak to you. Allow yourself to receive its wisdom. What is it saying? What is it that you need? What's the underlying core need that's going unmet or that's being met through this emotion in a way that's no longer effective for the trajectory or the vision or the goal that you have set for your life? And instead of trying to get rid of this emotion, we want to listen to it. We want to allow it to show us the needs that are going unmet, the desires that feel scary, likely because a need is going unmet, the need of safety, the need of self-trust. And instead of trying to get the impossible goal, I want you to allow that to remain there while you focus on receiving the emotion that comes up when you focus on that impossible goal. And instead of focusing on the action you need to take to accomplish the goal, I want you to allow yourself to begin receiving the unmet need now. So if guilt is coming up for you, we allow it to be there. We allow ourselves to receive it. And underneath that, in allowing ourselves to receive it, we can see that the unmet need here is the need for self-validation. And so how can I begin receiving that now? Well, I can begin by giving it to myself. By practicing self-validation, especially when it comes to things that stretch my capacity, to things that feel impossible. I can validate myself in knowing that I am capable. I can validate myself in knowing that my perspective is valid no matter what it is. I can validate myself in those moments where someone tries to discredit me. I can choose to remain committed and faithful to myself. And in doing that, I create the energy of self-trust that compounds over time. And so when I do meet that impossible goal, because I likely will, even if I don't, it doesn't matter. But when I do meet those impossible goals, when I do actually receive them, when I do actually get to experience them, more so than just the sensation right now in my body, I know that I will trust myself. And here's the key. The only thing that was preventing you from getting that what seemed like an impossible goal was allowing yourself to feel the feeling and meet the need and build that self-trust within yourself so that when you do reach that level, you don't abandon yourself. You don't abandon what you stand for. And in this way, you're not attempting to mold or morph yourself in order to receive what you want. You're allowing yourself to be exactly as you are and collapsing the contradictions in your field that are preventing you from receiving what you wanted in the first place. Because nothing is impossible. And you truly do hold the power. Before we come out of this intentional, meditative, reflective space, I want you to think of 2 or 3 action steps for this week off the back of this practice that allow you to receive that need that you identified in the visualization practice. So if the need is self-trust or self-validation, self-respect, this week, I'm going to do something that honors my self-respect. I'm going to say no when it doesn't feel aligned. I'm going to advocate for myself. I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm not afraid to be the villain in someone else's story. And if you keep repeating, giving yourself that need until the goal is reached, the goal gets taken off the pedestal because it's not some out there thing. It's something that is deeply attainable, not because you're more worthy, but because you're actually allowing yourself to receive. You've stopped trying to numb yourself from the emotions that you don't want to feel. You've stopped trying to protect yourself from the things that you don't want to feel. You stopped trying to protect yourself from the things that you think are bad. And that is what abundance truly is. And when you tap into that frequency of abundance, of knowing that nothing is good or bad, that everything is objective, everything is subjective, and you get to look at it through an objective perspective, meaning that you get to look at it through a neutralized perspective. You are the one who gets to make the meaning, and your meaning is what determines your experience. When you know that, when you feel that, when you practice that by meeting your own needs and by seeing the shifts that come from that, your experience of receiving is going to be inherently different, because guess what? With giving comes receiving, with receiving comes giving. And although you haven't shifted what you're receiving because you can't change the external circumstances, you have shifted what you're giving energetically based on your vibration, based on your orientation to the world, based on your identity. And in that shift, the external has to shift. And because you're building momentum within yourself by repeating something over and over and over again, you're ingraining that in your energetic signature, into your identity. And in doing that, you lessen the frequency of separation. You lessen the frequency of contradiction, and you increase the frequency of coherence, of trust, of magnetism. And so it's really not about what you're receiving. It's about your orientation to the world that you're receiving, which is shaped by your beliefs, your values, and your identity, which are all subject to change. And you have the power to change them. All right. This was so amazing. Feel free to come back into the space, drop any reflections that you might have, any sort of feedback, any sort of revelation that may have come through for you. I'm so happy to hear. And that's all we have today for this receiving workshop. I look forward to seeing you in our next session, in our next call, inside of the membership, inside of the group chat spaces. And as always, I am here supporting you, rooting you on, and looking forward to your intentional and inevitable expansion. Okay, I love you. Talk soon. Bye.